I never thought I'd watch a show about social anxiety and about dealing with the things that people do when they try to speak to somebody but they can't because they just get some anxiety but they want to speak to somebody. I never thought I'd find this kind of show entertaining or hilarious or cute and adorable. However, this show, Komi Can'tCommunicate, did all of that. It checked off all the boxes, being funny, hilarious, cute, and adorable. And on this episode of Movie Breakdown Series Review, we're going to review it. But before I get started, if there's a movie or show, TV, anything you want me to review, anime, please put in the comment section below and I get to it as best I can. Also on Patreon.com/Zakka for $2 a month. Get a cut in front of everybody, get your review out way before it come out on Facebook and YouTube. Now let's go and get into today's episode of Komi Can'tCommunicate for 2021. And this show, before I hop into what I love about it, let me tell you what it's about. It's about a girl named Komi who legit has social anxiety. She cannot communicate with anybody. And it's up to one of her classmates by the name of Tadano to help her reach her goal of getting 100 friends by the end of high school. That is the premise of Komi Can'tCommunicate, and it is one of the most adorable things I've seen this year. It is such a great show. It was put on as a request to me by one of my coworkers. He's like, you should check it out. I think you might like it. And I just got done watching One Piece, but I didn't feel like starting Jujutsu Kaisen. That's why I started Komi Can'tCommunicate. And this show is lighthearted, wholesome, a fun anime, a good slice of life anime, where you just have a character named Komi who legit cannot speak to anybody, and she works her way up to speaking to Tadano and speaking to Najimi and a bunch of other characters where only thing she can say is like, hi, or thank you, or something like so quiet. It's like, and she's trying to say something, she can't get herself to really say it, but when she does, it has such an impact because she's finally talking for the first time. So those moments in the show when you do get her to finally speak and get her to finally hear, you're like, let's go, let's go. The writing for this show is really good. Some good writing. Each episode has like different chapters. So one episode can have like 5 chapters in the episode where bits and pieces are coming together, where it might say one half of the episode might be telling like one story, another half of the episode might tell another story, but it all kind of interacts with what's going on with this episode or what the theme of the episode is. And moments where like Komi's not communicating at all for a few episodes, and then we get episode 4, episode 5 where she might do something where you're like, that's what she sounds like. Okay, cool, we're getting somewhere. And just the writing, the build up to that, where it's taking a little bit like, okay, we're not gonna let her speak yet. Okay, we're not letting her speak yet. All right, we're gonna let her try to speak here. Is she gonna do it? Is she? Nope. And we'll keep going. Like that build up where you're like, okay, this is it. This is the moment. This is the moment. This is the moment. The anticipation of her about to speak, and then she does. You're like, okay, step in the right direction. And the cast and crew is also really intriguing in the show because she goes to a prep school where everybody's their own unique character. Like everybody's their own thing. The only one who's not his own unique character is our other main character, Tadano, who is pretty much the most ordinary guy there. He is pretty much your guide into the world of Komi Can'tCommunicate. He's the one that the audience can relate to the most because he's just an average guy, and that's literally his thing. He's an average, ordinary guy who can understand everybody. So therefore, when Komi starts freaking out and starts shivering, and you see the lines around her eyes go from like very straight drawn to like cartoony bubbly, and she's like panicking. Tadano's sitting there like, oh, she's panicking, let me help out. And then you have a narrator who also interjects a lot into the show that helps paint the picture on what's going on. And I think it's just a really cool, fun show. It really is. Some of the most adorable moments for me that I enjoy is when Komi is trying to communicate, trying to come out of her shell, and she runs into another character who also has social anxiety. For example, there's a scene where they're sitting at a restaurant and she needs to make an order and she can't make an order, and she's trying to make this order, and the guy who's listening to her, looking at her, he also has social anxiety, so he's communicating with her and like, this is what she wants, this is what she needs, I'm gonna go ahead and bash this up for her and get her what she needs, and delivers exactly what Komi wants. But then there's times where characters do the same thing and it doesn't go exactly what Komi wants, but Komi takes it and walks out because she has anxiety. And Tadano is such a great character for her to bounce off of, because he's sitting there trying to help her out but not push her in a situation that makes it too worse. Like, he will be there, he's like, okay, Komi, let's try to place an order. I'm gonna be here to watch your back. You're okay, you got this. And anything goes sideways, he'll pop out and help her out. I'm like, hey, I got you, Komi. Don't worry about it. But then you have a character like Najmi who makes friends with everybody they come in contact with, and they will decide to put Komi in a situation where Komi is not going to be comfortable at all. And Najmi 100% knows that Komi is not going to be comfortable and put Komi in a situation to make it worse. But Tadano's a good opposite of Najmi, where Tadano will sit there and like, okay, Komi, I know Najmi did this to you, but we got this to get out of the situation. The show has a lot of good one-liners, good quips that are fun, and I rewind myself and laughing about, like, Najmi was born a guy, but they will switch back and forth. They're gender fluid. So there's a scene where this dude was like hitting on Najmi because, like, he's like, I'm in love with Najmi. I'm gonna express my love to her. So he hits on Najmi. Najmi like, I'm a guy, and the dude was like, I don't care, I want you. And I was like, it cracked me up so much because it's just how Najmi switched and just a quick deliverance of like, yeah, I'm a guy. And the dude's like, I don't want you. Then Komi hops in, and then Komi tries to say something like, you drop your keys. And the dude reads Komi and thinks Komi's menacing, and he runs off. It's just a shenanigans episode that I enjoyed. I just like how this show brings a serious topic to the forefront, like anxiety and social anxiety, but also give a little lightheartedness to it, where the main gist of the story is like, just because you have social anxiety doesn't mean they don't want to be friends with somebody. It just might take a little bit longer to become friends with somebody or reach out to somebody. So take your time. Don't get weird around somebody because they're not really sure how to express their way to speak to you or express how to communicate. And I think the theme of the show is great and hilarious. Pretty much, I'm not really sure I'm drop spoilers in this episode. If I do, I'll probably let you guys know I'm drop spoilers. But the show's been out since 2021, so, but it's not really a show you can really drop spoilers in. Like, it is just characters. And I'm gonna go ahead and talk about characters because the last stuff I'm talking about is the characters in here. But I guess before I hop into the characters part, let's talk about some dislikes. The dislike of the show is that it is not serialized, or yeah, it's not it's serialized, not an overall story. So it's not one fluid story. The main gist of the show is a fluid story, but each episode has its own little arcs and stuff like that. And then within each episode, they have mini arcs. So when an arc completes, the next episode or next part of the episode might not flow as well as the first one. So to me, a little pacing is off on the show, where season 1 is only 12 episodes long. However, some of the pacing of it just seems, kind of off at times, because you'll have an event, you have a character get introduced, and this whole episode is about these characters. But let's say this part, first 10 minutes of the episode is about a certain moment that gets resolved, and then the next half of the episode is another situation with that same character, and it does get resolved, and you're just like, okay, now continue to the next episode or not. So it's an anime that you don't have to pick up and just binge. You can watch it different pieces because of the fact that it's not serialized, it's not all together. I think serialized is the word I'm looking for, versus continuous. It's not a continuous story. It is bits and pieces. So it's serialized, bits and pieces on different episodes versus a comprehensive story that you can just watch all the way through, like Komi meet friend 1 to friend 100. And it happens, but it's not like every episode introduces a new friend. It's just what Komi's going through that day or that time of the year. And that's pretty much it. The things I love about it is just the animation of it, the style going from seriousness to kind of cartoony style with the bubbly eyes, big eyes, no mouth, and then back to the serious jarring of Komi or Tadano, and how it goes from like that strict design to loose cartoony, kind of like how Demon Slayer and One Punch Man does it. I love when shows do that. Another thing that I really enjoy is the animation as well. I mean, like, just the artwork behind the show is so good. The color of it. This show does use a lot of lens flare, but it works. And then the side jokes. There are jokes in here from adaptations from other anime, adaptations for other video game and pop culture things. Like there's a Super Smash Brother reference in this. There's that movie, like Tokyo Movies, I think, Tokyo Films. The adaptation pops up at one point. So I do like how the show pretends to be super serious and then sometimes not serious at all. And it's just a fun show to watch. I really enjoy. Now let's go ahead and get into cast, characters, and director and author and all that good stuff. So Komi Can'tCommunicate, the anime series, came out in 2021. It's on Netflix. Season 1 has 12 episodes. Season 2 also has 12 episodes. But we haven't talked about Season 2, we're talking about Season 1. There's a manga, Komi Can'tCommunicate, is created by Tomohito Oda. They created the manga. And the characters, you have Komi. So Komi is considered the most beautiful girl in the school. She is gorgeous. Matter of fact, she's the most beautiful girl probably in the city of wherever city you're in. And no matter where she goes, people always turn their heads. People always look at her. And people always want to do things for her. In fact, they made her the class goddess. That's how great she is in the show. And Komi literally can't communicate with anybody, so anybody who comes in contact with her besides Tadano or somebody who cannot read emotions, they do not understand that like maybe Komi is trying to help and trying to communicate, but they had to take her like she's super serious, super like, oh my gosh, she's too better than everybody, or they're like, oh my gosh, we don't know what to do, should I panic, should I not? So they take her silence as a way of like her telling them what to do, and then she's like better, and they're like, okay, we gotta step our game up. But Komi is just a great character, and just the designs. A lot of things about Komi that I like is the way the artists and they make her design her in the show and how she moves and navigates, and the little things she does where she's excited she get cat ears, and then when she want to help out she gets cat ears, or when she goes somewhere and she gets an idea and like the light bulb goes on her face, but her face goes from super serious to like cartoony design. I just like that change, and I like how Komi, you know, she doesn't talk as much. There's a good way they express what she's thinking and what she's doing. And then the narrator helps too. The narrator be like, Komi's about to do this. Komi doesn't feel comfortable. Komi's scared. Komi's actually trembling. Komi's about to faint. Like, and just the way the narrator voices it too, I think is great. You have Tadano. Tadano already talked about him. I think he's just a cool character. He's kind-hearted, peaceful guy. And a dude who can read Komi, he can read everybody and kind of points out things when people like, oh, this is going on, he'll point it out, but people look at him as super average, so they had to get annoyed by him or don't want to be around him, but also can't believe how can he talk to Komi, and pretty much because he understands and takes the time to listen to Komi and just try to get to know Komi versus be like, oh my gosh, she's so beautiful. Now Tano does like, oh my gosh, she's gorgeous. And actually, Komi has a crush on Tano as well. So they have this crush on each other. They can't communicate their romantic feelings for each other, but they can't communicate about every other thing. And there are things that Komi would do something for Tano that make Tano like blush and gives him more energy and more like willing to do something, more determination. I like that dynamic between the two, and I want to see it grow more in season 2. You have Najimi. Najimi is great. I love them. Najimi is one of the best characters of the show. You know, they are so annoying and get people into trouble that they shouldn't, things that they do to get people in trouble. But Najimi is such a cool character, and I like how if it wasn't for Najimi, a lot of stuff that goes on around Komi and Tano probably wouldn't happen as much. So Najimi is a big pillar in the show because of the fact they know so many people. They are friends with everybody. Even Tano knows like this would be the person to get Komi to meet, to try to get out and meet everybody. But by doing that, it throws things into the forefront. But even Najimi themselves know that like, this is how people get Komi to meet 100 friends and get Komi to the spotlight. So I do like Najimi, but they also have their own motives and just that throw the group into trouble. But Najimi is a fun time for the group. Just over the top, ridiculous character. Yeah, Himiko. Himiko is somebody who gets nervous around people as well, and that's why she works well with Komi. And it's actually the third friend that Komi tried to meet and try to get to know of in the show. However, Himiko wants to be treated like a dog. That is her thing, and she's pretty much the fan service character of the show, not because she is like oozing with sexual confidence is because she's a klutz and she, say, well endowed. So the show draws her in a way to make like, oh, this is the fan service characters. Even the characters on the show understand what, when she does things, they're like, oh my gosh, because of who she is. But yeah, like Himiko is a fun character to be around the group, but she's hit and there, she's hit and miss there. Yamai, I can't stand Yamai. She's like your Helga from Hey Arnold. She's obsessed with Komi, like obsessed with her. She's lesbian and she wants Komi for herself and nothing else. Matter of fact, the first introduction of her is that she ties up Tano into a room and locks him away, and then try to kidnap, well, pretty much get Komi to get away from everybody else so she can have Komi for herself. And it's the most creepiest character there is. And there's a time when Tano tells Yamai, like, hey, this is what's going on. And Yamai's like, you take that back. Nothing's perfect. Don't you dare speak bad of our perfect Komi. And it's the most hilarious line, but also psychotic character. She's probably the most annoying character to me in this show. I can't stand her, but that's good writing for them. And then Omoharu, who is another friend that comes in later in the series, and she is one of the few people who invite Komi over her place, and Komi seems to be open and welcoming of Omoharu because Omoharu is just a unique character on her own self. She believes that she's in an anime or in a fantasy world and that Komi is her princess. I love it. The characters in the show is ridiculous, over the top, but they all add so much to the story and gives things to do for Komi and Tadano to play off of and add to this journey of Komi trying to make 100 friends. And I love it. I love the writing for these characters. I think it's great, phenomenal work. Any other thoughts? Nah, not really. Like, the animation is really good. I keep talking about the animation because it's some good animation. They do use lens flares a lot. Not sure why. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but they do. And I really think the one thing about the show that's probably not the best is the pacing. The pacing is probably one thing that I personally think is just not that good. It's because it's that kind of like Azumanga Daioh, where each episode is not going to be better than the rest because of the fact that each episode has its own bits and pieces into it. So some episodes will be a lot better than the others. But Azumanga Daioh, let's say it's the beach scene, the beach episode. They all are in the beach episode. So how they get in there, when they're there, how they get back. It's all bits and pieces of the manga versus Komi Can'tCommunicate legit tells you chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4 within an episode. And you're like, okay, well, I didn't need a new chapter. We can just flow it as one episode or one theme of this episode. So I think it's the one thing that hurts the show when it comes to pacing. But that's about it. Other than that, I love the artwork. The music is some good music. I love a good OST, a good soundtrack when it comes to anime. And this show has a good soundtrack. You know, there's time I kind of feel like I want to listen to the Azumanga Daioh soundtrack play in the background, but this show has a good soundtrack as well. And that really, really works for the show. Trying to think anything else. The theme song, or I guess the opening song for season 1, is catchy. You'll find yourself singing it later on throughout the show as you're watching 100 times. The closing is not that good of a closing, but the opening soundtrack, the opening theme for the show is really good. Alright. Is this a series you should watch? Yes, you should binge. I don't know if you should binge it, but you should definitely watch Komi Can'tCommunicate and Great Time. Especially as an introduction anime. Like, if you just want to introduce somebody to Komi Can'tCommunicate, this is an anime to introduce people to. Now, grading time. I'm going to grade Komi Can'tCommunicate Season 1. I'm going to grade this anime an A-. It gets a 90% for me. The reason why, because the artwork is really good. The animation is really good as well. The music works for the characters, or work for the show. The characters work. Some good cast that you can play off of. A good wholesome anime. Nothing too overly sexual about the show. Nothing too out of blue. It's slice of life, solid anime. You want to introduce somebody into something that's not shonen? Komi Can'tCommunicate is one of those animes to introduce them to. IMDb gives this show a 7.8 out of 10. Now that is, by the way, out of 2 seasons. And my anime list gives this show a 7.95 out of 10, which is a random to 8. And what's another rating here? It was another rating that I thought I might saw, but maybe I didn't. But IMDb gives it 7.8 out of 10. That's out of 2 seasons. So I don't know what season 1 is rated, but season 1's episodes, they had... I'm just going through the rating here for this. But season 1, like episode 1 is rated 8.6. Episode 2 rated 7.8. Episode 3 rated 7.9. 4 is rated an 8. 5 is rated a 7.9. 6 is rated a 7.8. 7 is rated a 7.9. Episode 8 was rated an 8. Episode 9 was rated 7.4, which is the lowest so far. Episode 10 is rated 7.9. 11, 7.5, and then episode 12 rated an 8. So they all have like between a 7.5 and a 8 rating. But to me, I think season 1 as a whole by itself is definitely an A-. If you've seen Komi Can'tCommunicate season 1, what did you think? Please put in the comment section below. Other than that, see you guys next episode of Movie Breakdowns, and keep being awesome. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. I really appreciate that. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. If there's a review you want me to watch or do, let me know. Please put it in the comment section below this video. Also, you want to watch the last episode of Movie Breakdowns, it's right there. Just gotta click on it and you'll be able to watch it. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Love y'all, and keep being awesome.